Today's episode, Palestine. Hello, and welcome to the Bystander Effect, where we see what's happening but don't stay silent. Today's topic is Palestine, and this is an issue I have followed for over 20 years. And in the recent years, I've given some speeches on it, actually. Check my channel for some of those if you want to. But why this video? Palestine has received a lot of attention in the last 2.5 years. What do I have to add to this issue? Well, I don't think I've seen anything quite like this video. Usually the issues are confronted very separately, and there's always a lot of confusion and obfuscation. So here, I want to pull together and organize the biggest ideas and arguments around Palestine into kind of a comprehensive whole that I don't think one can get outside of reading a lot of real big books. So here goes. Often people ask me when I mention this, why do you care? There are a lot of issues around the world. What's so special about Palestine? Well, there's two reasons. One, it's a genocide, and that's the supreme international crime. There's a human element to this. There's an empathy for the plight of the Palestinians. And two, it has global significance. International significance and consequences. If you're worried about the spread of violence and war and if in fascism even in the world, I believe you can root some of that to this issue of Palestine. So let's deal with each of these in turn. First, the genocide. It's not complicated. It's not a war. It's not a conflict. It's a genocide. Everything else about this episode follows from this fact. And this is also why it's such a frustrating issue for those of us who follow it, is because it's not difficult. It's not confusing. Lots of issues in the world are complex and it's hard to come up with a solution. That doesn't apply to Palestine. There is one horrific, psychopathic, illegitimate perpetrator of genocide, Israel. And there is one victim, Palestine. The end. Case closed. It's not a war. You can see all of these armaments that Israel has where the Gazans don't have. It's not a war if only one side has an army. It's just a genocide. Even the Israeli army database says 83% of the dead in Gaza were civilians. The Lancet years ago did a study of 186,000 dead. This is not a war. It's just ethnic cleansing. It's just a genocide. Next, the occupation. The central and most important issue about Palestine is the occupation. The occupation is violence. The occupation is murder. All suffering starts and ends with the occupation. Reactions to the occupation are resistance. It is the occupation of Palestine by Israel is a settler colonialism. October 6th was violent. October 5th, 2023 was violent. The genocide has been going on for decades. You don't just start at October 7th and say, oh my gosh, look how horrible it has been. It's been going on for decades, as proved by the old policy of Israel of mowing the lawn, horrifically named for when they would just randomly do violence and kill large numbers of Palestinians to keep them down, to keep them in check. And then Netanyahu's polls go up after Palestinians are killed. The occupation is the central issue. The occupation, the occupation, the occupation. If you're talking about Palestine and you're not talking about this decades-long illegitimate, illegal behavior, you are not telling the full story. Next, about the genocide. Israel itself is wholly illegitimate. From its inception, it's been a settler colonial state. We can see 1899, Israel will colonize Palestine. The Zionist project goes back to the late 1800s, before the Holocaust, before any war, with this plan to go to another place, ethnically cleanse the region, and colonize it. The Zionists, they modeled their ideas after the American genocide of Native Americans. That was their model. They want to recreate this kind of situation in West Asia on the Palestinians' land. There's no need for a Jewish homeland. No one cares about what happened 3,000 years ago in your book. There's no need for a Jewish state. By the way, what happened to the separation of church and state, as a moral? But their justice is one secular state called Palestine. This is justice. One person, one vote for all the people in this area in a nation called Palestine. Israel is wholly illegitimate. This issue is not a conflict over religion or values. It has nothing to do with Judaism. Judaism is a beautiful religion. It's a beautiful set of cultural values. Zionism in the state of Israel is a far-right political movement to ethnically cleanse the local population of Palestine. And principled Jews know this, like Jewish Voice for Peace, who are anti-Zionism and anti-Israeli genocide. When we talk about values, it's not about democracy, the only democracy in the Middle East. Israel's not a democracy. It's an ethno-nationalist apartheid state with unequal rights. 65 laws that discriminate against Palestinians in Israel. When you talk about values, 82% of Jewish Israelis back expelling Gazans. Nearly half support the army killing all Palestinians. What values are these? Israel is not superior in their values. The only thing they are superior in is organized violence. In addition, in this idea of values, Zionists always weaponize the real horrors of the Holocaust. And they try to drum up sympathy for their project and fear and claiming the anti-Semitism to their homeland. The lesson of the Holocaust is not that that Jews are a particularly targeted and persecuted group of people. The lesson of the Holocaust is not that Jews are particularly victims that need their own safe country. That's the wrong lesson. That's not what we should learn from the Holocaust. The lesson of the Holocaust is that anyone can become a monster. The lesson of the Holocaust is that when you have the capacity to stop genocide and you don't, you become culpable. And we are all culpable when we sit back and watch the mass slaughter and ethnic cleansing of an entire group of people. And that's what's happening, and that's what Zionists and the Israeli actions are. As far as the genocide goes, it's not about Hamas, terrorism, or defense. The issue, what about Hamas? Do you condemn Hamas? There's no need to. We don't have to talk about Hamas. The Palestinians have a right to resist, even violently. The United Nations has never called Hamas, for example, a terrorist group. Why? It all goes back to the occupation. Israel is an illegal occupying power for decades, going back to the middle 60s of Palestine. And under that situation, people have the right to resist, even with violence. So no act that Israel ever does is in self-defense because they are the aggressor. They are the violent one. You can even see, in their own database, only a quarter of Gaza detainees are fighters. So they expected, Israel's telling the truth that all of these terrorists are around, but all of these organizations are lying. No, I don't think so. And finally, we must confront the Nakba. It must be acknowledged and rectified. The mass expulsion and ethnic cleansing of 700,000 plus Palestinians in 1948 and beyond. A non-negotiable aspect of this issue is justice for all of the Palestinians affected by this, and a total right of return for the victims of the Nakba, the catastrophe, and along with monetary and other reparations for the crimes against humanity that the Zionist forces committed. People ask, where should Israelis go? Who cares? No justice, no peace. One state called Palestine, one person, one vote. You can see depictions of the Nakba in fiction, and I would recommend a film called Farah as well. So yes, that is the kind of local level, that it's a genocide. So that's why I care, first of all. But also, Palestine is not just kind of a regional humanitarian tragedy in West Asia, in Palestine. It's actually of huge international significance as well. Why? Because the U.S. is a violent global empire. It's a global hegemon. It is an empire. It is not a protector of democracy. We don't live under a rules-based system governed by the United Nations. There is a global, violent American hegemonic empire. They have 800 military bases all around the world, and they use this military a lot for violence, interventions, and messing with other countries. As Martin Luther King correctly said, the United States is the greatest purveyor of violence in the world. And the violence and the death of the American empire that they extract is not just via bombs, but a study came out, 38 million deaths since 1970 from U.S. and UN or EU economic sanctions. This is all a way to be a global hegemon, to have all the power, and that is what is the international situation we're dealing with. And as such, Israel is a client state of this violent empire. They don't even try to hide it. Joe Biden said on the Senate floor, if Israel didn't exist, the United States would have to invent an Israel to have this kind of unsinkable aircraft in the Middle East, West Asia. Okay, $200 billion in aid, often in the form of munitions and weaponry. So Israel is a client state of this violent empire. And that's downstream from profit. The profit motive. We live under the violent system of capitalism, Lockheed Martin stocks going up, the military industrial complex. It's good business to slaughter people. You can make a lot of money as a weapons contractor. That's part of this issue. Also, oil and gas reserves. Elites, Western elites, have wanted access to this to make their profits. There's the real estate issue as well. They come out and say it. It's a real estate bonanza to ethnically cleanse these people from their homeland and take it over and redevelop Gaza for profit. And this is all part of the global system of capitalism, all these countries doing business with the illegitimate state of Israel. And the last thing about the international significance of the issue of Palestine is it is a testing ground for fascism. It is a testing ground for colonialism. The Palestine laboratory, where the technology and the violence that Israel tests on the Palestinians is then used in other places. Israeli companies do this. They practice and use their horrible munitions on the victims in Palestine, and then they try to sell this to other warmongering states around the world. The weapons that Israel uses against the Palestinians will be used against all of us. It's a testing ground, and that is why it affects all of us. So these are the material conditions that make up the issue of Palestine, both on kind of a local and moral level as far as the genocide goes, but also on this international imperial level. However, there is one more element: racism. The anti-Islam, anti-Arab sentiment that is stoked by the American empire, by white supremacy, and Israel uses that to commit its crimes. We're fighting human animals. Speaking of racism, Zionists try to hide behind this idea of any criticism is anti-Semitic. But what ethical Jews abhor is Zionists using the threat of anti-Semitism in order to justify the settler colonial project of the Zionists of Israel. This is what true Judaism is: anti-Zionist. Last thing, who are the real fundamentalists? Sometimes you'll hear racists claim that Islam is a violent religion and it is filled with fundamentalists. who are not modern in their thinking. And ironically, the Zionists are the most fundamentalist and unhinged people of all. They think they're God's chosen people. They believe words written thousands of years ago, supposedly, justify their crimes and their colonialism. And that's as fundamentalist and unhinged as it gets. So, what can, what should, what will happen? Now that we've kind of described the situation, it's not complicated. What's going to happen? Well, there's no two-state solution. This was always a lie. It was just a stalling tactic. Israel is a project of ethnic cleansing and colonization. So there's only two options. Either A, a total ethnic cleansing of the population of Palestine. And that's the trajectory we've been on for 70 plus years now. And they're open about this. It's Israel's goal, the Zionist goal, a new Middle East. Netanyahu has talked about his spiritual mission for Greater Israel, this project of Greater Israel from the Euphrates to the Nile River. Incidentally, Israel refuses to name its borders. You talk about the illegitimacy of the state. What country do you know that doesn't name its borders? Well, Israel has never and refuses to do so. Why? Because they have no intention of staying in one place. They want to expand and colonize. That's the entire ethos of the project. They even put it on their military's patches. You can see this kind of Greater Israel map right there. They're out and kind of just almost bragging about it. So that's one option, total ethnic cleansing of Palestinians, what will happen. Or B, no more Israel. One secular state called Palestine with one person, one vote, right of return for the victims of the Nakba. This is the option of justice. So one of those two things are going to happen. I don't see any other way around it. It's kind of an intractable position. What's going to happen? Obviously, a regional conflict. We know how A will happen. Just more of the same, more of Israel's brutality until finally they push all Palestinians out or they kill them all. And I don't mean to be flippant, of course, about this. It's awful, but that's what they want. Or B, which can only be achieved through class-based regional confrontation with these imperial forces. We have to fight back against the empire. The empire knows no limit to its violence and its illegality, and we're seeing that spread now in a very horrible and dangerous way in this fight between Zionism's illegitimate bloodlust and Palestine's pursuit of justice. And now the whole world is being threatened and affected by this fight. And that shows that Palestine is the front line against empire. It's no exaggeration to say that Palestine is the most important cause of our generation. It symbolizes everything from exploitation, oppression, even ecological destruction of nature, whether it's genocides in Sudan, Congo, ecocide in Brazil. It all starts at the empire and those fighting against the empire and imperialism and colonialism. As Nelson Mandela knew, our freedom is incomplete without the freedom of the Palestinians. So, to summarize, it's a genocide. It's not complicated. And it has international significance. And there is this base racism, this white supremacy element behind it as well. So to conclude, I want to return to how I started this episode with the why do I care question. And I ask in return, why do you not? Or more pointedly, how can you not care about this? It's so important. It is the issue of our time, or one of the most important, and that is why we are all Palestinians. Thanks for watching, and please, if you liked that video, don't forget to click like, subscribe, comment down below. I'll have more videos coming out on a regular basis as well, so you can follow me all over the internet at some of these accounts, and I'll see you in the next one.